Hermione Granger, the star pupil of Gryffindor whose enthusiasm for learning never dulls and whose knowledge always comes in handy when most needed. However, underneath this bright witch lies an essential truth that affects all of us. Just a quick reminder to like and subscribe as it helps the channel greatly. Now, back to the video. At the heart of Hermione's character exists the archetype of the sage. Carl Jung described archetypes as symbols of universal human experiences which arise from the collective unconscious, the level of the unconscious shared by all people. In fact, archetypes can be thought of as universal potentials of human behavior that exist within all of us. One way of understanding psychological maturation is the integration of these different archetypes. In other words, making the unconscious conscious. So what is the sage archetype? Well, the sage is known for a specific collection of psychological traits which Hermione displays throughout the series. One essential trait is a thirst for knowledge. Hermione can always be found researching something in the library, whether it's looking up Nicholas Flamel, the properties of Polyjuice Potion, or the history of Horcruxes. However, the sage archetype isn't just known for the pursuit of knowledge, but the wise and practical application of knowledge. For example, in The Prisoner of Azkaban, Hermione uses her knowledge of the Time Turner to go back in time to save both Sirius Black and Buckbeak. Her understanding of the complexities of time travel and her meticulous planning to avoid being seen by her and Harry's past selves are instrumental in the rescue of Sirius and Buckbeak. From the perspective of psychological development, the desire to continuously learn and then apply what one has learned is a combination that produces not just intelligence, but wisdom. Another trait strongly associated with the sage is rational and critical thinking. For example, in the Order of the Phoenix, under the oppressive rulership of Umbridge, the students aren't allowed to practice defensive spells, despite the brewing threats outside the castle. Harry, Hermione, and Ron decide to form Dumbledore's army in order to practice self-defense and prepare themselves. Hermione uses her critical thinking and understands the necessity of Dumbledore's army remaining a secret. She uses a jinx on the parchment that all the students sign to ensure members do not betray the group. This was pivotal in allowing the group to succeed in their mission for as long as they did. So why is all of this important, and how does it relate to you? Well, these traits of the sage exist in all of us. In fact, it's the integration of the sage archetype that protects someone from the pitfalls of arrogance and certainty. This is because the sage is perpetually assessing situations critically and looking to learn from them. Without this, one could go into a situation obstinately that is actually dangerous. Or if someone holds a prejudice about something, then it's the sage archetype within us all that can inspire introspection and analysis, leading to revelation and new perspectives. Psychologically speaking, the sage often challenges the ego with new perspectives. The ego is the conscious part of the psyche, how an individual understands themselves and their identity. We can consider Harry a symbol of the ego, and the entire magical world and the characters in it as symbolic of his unconscious. From this symbolic perspective, we continually see the sage challenging the assumptions of the ego and encouraging critical thinking and objectivity. For example, in The Half-Blood Prince, Hermione frequently questions Harry's blind trust in the Half-Blood Prince's potions book. She cautions him against using spells and potions from an unknown source. Harry, the ego, unfortunately ignores these cautions and ends up using a spell on Draco, causing severe injuries. After this traumatic incident, Harry decides to heed Hermione's warnings and give the book up. There are countless ways in which we are susceptible to bias and certainty, and both come at a great price. There is a difference between confidence and certainty. Certainty lacks humility, which can be dangerous for an individual and the collective at large. This is because it leaves no room for investigation or questioning of any kind. This rigidity can lead to all sorts of problems. Another powerful example of the ego ignoring the warnings of the sage is when Harry sees a vision of Sirius being tortured at the Ministry. Understandably, Harry doesn't waste any time acting upon this. However, Hermione warns him against it. She implores him to pause and critically assess the situation. She asks Harry to consider the possibility that Voldemort wanted him to see the vision. She presents the possibility of it being a trap. However, Harry goes ahead anyway. In the end, it turns out it was indeed a trap. Voldemort had discovered his and Harry's psychic link and planted a fake vision to lure Harry in. This ended up putting Harry and his friends in grave danger, But worst of all, it ended in the death of Sirius, who came to Harry and his friends' protection while they were being attacked by Death Eaters. This is a painful example of the potential consequences for ignoring the guidance of the sage. In other words, the dangers of certainty without critical thinking to balance one's perspective. Harry's withstanding and ever-deepening friendship with Hermione over the course of the series can be understood symbolically as the ego's gradual integration of the sage archetype. This is well demonstrated in the Deathly Hallows. Harry, Hermione, and Ron are visiting Xenophilius Lovegood's house to learn more about the enigmatic symbol associated with the Deathly Hallows. Hermione is wary from the start and understands that trust must be given very carefully considering Voldemort's increasing power and their shrinking list of allies. Harry demonstrates that he has integrated some of Hermione's cautious nature. He is attentive to her concerns and becomes more observant and skeptical during their visit. In fact, it's this shared caution between them that enables them to recognize the incoming danger in Xenophilius' betrayal, allowing them to make a quick escape. This demonstrates Harry's growth and the integration of a more thoughtful and strategic mindset, balancing his natural bravery with prudence. It seems to me that the constant presence of the sage archetype throughout the entire series is a strong reminder of its vital importance. We must all balance our certainty and biases with honest and diligent introspection and analysis. Not only can this keep us safe from certain pitfalls, but it will also lead to a healthier, more balanced individual and collective. You've been watching Archetypal Wisdom. Remember to like and subscribe. Stay wise.